Hi, I'm Susana Córdova. I'm the Commissioner of Education in the Colorado Department of Ed, and I'm excited today because I'm being joined by the Rangeley RE4's Superintendent, Matt Scoggins, who's been on the job for 11 years, and also joined today by the elementary principal, Carlene Cantrell, to talk with you a little bit about the work that you've been doing to help make sure that kids are coming to school every day. Would love to first just give you an opportunity to tell us about yourself, your work there in the district, how long you've been there, and a little bit about Rangeley.
Rangeley is both rural and remote up in the northwest part of Colorado. We have just under 500 students, and we definitely rely on oil and gas as our industry. We have some of the best people in the world right here, as well as our students are amazing. So I've been in the district, actually finishing up my 12th year as superintendent. My expertise probably comes more from finance. I have a wonderful team, including Carlene Cantrell, who's been with us for 10 years.
This is year 11.
Yeah. Finishing up year 11 with me. I recruited her and her husband from McPherson, Kansas area.
Mm-hmm.
That's great.
Yeah, this is my 11th year here in Rangeley. I started actually as a 5th grade teacher and taught in the classroom for 5 years. Have now been the elementary principal for 6. So made that transition. It's been an adventure, but one I've definitely enjoyed.
That's so neat. And, especially, describing your district, 500 students, K-12, rural and remote. Attendance is just as important in your community as it is anywhere else. And I'm guessing that there may be some differences about getting kids to school in your community than, in a urban center. I wonder if you could tell us a little bit about, how have you talked with your community about the importance of attendance, and what are some of the ways that you've been able to help make the connection with your family members about why it's important for kids to be in school every day?
Sure. So we start right at the beginning of the school year, sending out, newsletter information, when we have our back to school nights, really, talking with our families, especially at the elementary level. So much of attendance is dependent upon, those parents getting their kids to school. So just really sharing that message. One thing that we've really worked on at the elementary level is shifting our whole focus to how can we make attendance a positive. If a student's not at school, it isn't where were you yesterday, but when they show up, we are so glad that you are here today. So really those relationships and making school a place that students want to be.
Yeah,
That's great.
Yeah, definitely we're wanting our kids to be here. And one of the nice things about our district is, I know virtually every student in our district, and every student knows me, but the same thing with Carlene. So working on those relationships. We definitely focus on the positives. We have postcards that go out to reach to parents. We try to keep some of the attendance matters data out there, how important it is to have your students in school. But like everybody else, we can definitely have our struggles.
Yeah, I'm sure. We've made this a real priority for the department as well, and want to be as supportive as we can be to our districts. And one of the things that we've done is the attendance challenge. And we have a goal to reduce chronic absenteeism by 50% over the next 5 years. And just for folks who don't know, chronically absent kids are kids who miss 10% of the year or more. When you think about like what you've been doing, so it sounds like you send positive notes home, you're trying to be really positive with your families around it. Are there any other things that you're doing just to communicate the importance of a daily attendance? And I believe you also use the 4-day school week in Rangeley, and it's even more important at that point because one day of school is actually more than one day in comparison to other districts. So I wonder if you could talk to us about how's your community responded to the work that you're doing?
Yeah, so at both the secondary and the elementary level, one thing we've really focused on this school year is bringing in those families where there is a chronically absent issue. Just meeting with the student, with the parents, what can we do to help you? Are there things that are keeping your child from being at school, consistently? Setting up attendance contracts with those students where they have things that they're working for, and attendance goals that we set with the families. And I think us doing that kindergarten through 12th grade has helped build some continuity. And a lot of times in a small community, it's going to be the same family, that has a second grader that's struggling with attendance, and they might have an 8th grader that's struggling with attendance. So them knowing that we're going to be consistent across buildings, I think has helped a lot with that.
Yeah, using, as soon as we have students hit 5 days, then 10 days and 15 days, we do send out letters. And at the 15-day mark, there's conferences with our principals. And then, a shout out to Carlene, on more than one occasion, we have a student, we just are not reaching the parents. Get in the vehicle and we'll go to their house and just see how we can help, see what we can do to improve attendance and provide the supports they might need.
Yeah, it's so interesting to think about what you just shared, Carlene, about, the same family might have a little one in elementary and then an older student who are struggling. Sometimes we see at elementary, frequently it's like working with the parents. And then in secondary, there are times when kids are disengaged and, maybe in a city, parents drop them off at school and they walk around the corner and leave. But it sounds like maybe that's not as much a problem for you in your community. Maybe there's some, positives about the smallness of your school district. I wonder if you could just talk about how that positive culture makes a difference, particularly for secondary students.
Yeah, and I think that the whole community does have ownership of, our schools. What do you do on Friday night? You go to the football game or the basketball game. That's what there is to do here. So a lot of ownership, a lot of, community members knowing the students. And so I think there is a lot of support there. Just school is what we do and it's important. And, even if you don't necessarily have a student in the school, a student, they're the, lifeguard at the rec, they're, the youth volunteer coach for your kids' basketball team, so a lot of ownership.
I think there is ownership. I don't want to say that we don't have problems. There's definitely junior high, senior high, kids become more independent, and we work more directly with them. Certainly parents involved, whereas as you mentioned, yes, at the elementary level, it's usually working with the parents who are struggling.
Yeah. Yeah, and I can certainly say as a parent myself, when my kids got to middle school and high school, it got a lot harder, to, they were not always as excited to go to school as I was excited to take them to school. And those parent-child struggles can be real tensions as kids get older. And that's true no matter where families live. I wonder if you can talk about some of the work that you are doing with your secondary students in particular, where it can get harder to make school more engaging, and to think about the opportunities for kids to see the connection between what they're doing at school and what they could be doing in the world of work.
I think one of the big things we just finished up with our SWAP coordinator, Tammy Dwyer, she organized a day up at her college where we brought in a number of different professionals and tradesmen to expose the kids to all the different opportunities, provided a lot of information on, what the job entails, what it makes, what it takes. And I think we've been working hard with our community college to provide those opportunities for our students. I think within the school, we've definitely had a focus on being kind, the importance of attendance, making it a safe place. And that's important to kids because, as we all know, sometimes it is the place where a kid is safe. And we definitely work with we're fortunate, even as small as we are, to have an excellent ag program, and kids can learn a lot of skills. Or, I can say that is why my son is an engineer, is because of the welding he learned. Now we can see math and that part fit together. We have a great woods class, and we work really hard to provide our kids with other opportunities. There's nothing like getting outside of your little small world and, you know, seeing what else is out there. We want our kids to do great things.
Yeah, it makes learning feel like it's not for the teacher when kids are hands-on and, you know, producing things. You know, I have this image of your son doing welding. It's like he's creating a thing, and, you know, it's not just for the teacher, but for the purpose of whatever it was that he was building. And that makes such a difference around engagement, I think, for kids.
Yeah,
I think so. And we've definitely picked up on, you know, the kids enjoy things. We've been blessed with the oil and gas donations with our 3D printers, our Lego robots that the kids can play with and expand, and working with the coding part of that. So definitely, we're definitely supported where we can do those things.
That's awesome. Well, you know, you talked about being both rural and remote. And I know one of the areas that we've really struggled, frankly, is recruiting teachers to come to rural, remote school districts. I wonder if you could talk with us a little bit about, you know, how do you get teachers? How do you find them? How do you keep them?
That's the struggle. So, but I think we've been very proactive. We've, and I'll give a couple things. So we've definitely grown our own. We have at the junior, senior high, and at Parkview, we have several teachers who we've put through alternative licensure programs, and they've been very successful. We've struggled, especially in some of our special education teachers, and we went with the J1 candidate. And we actually have 3 in our districts, 2 from Zimbabwe. We have a high school special education teacher as well as a music teacher at the elementary. And then from the Philippines, we have a gentleman who's helping with junior high math. So we feel very good about that. We also just we love our art and music, and we just had one of our former paraprofessionals go through the program at Western, and she went under a first-year contract with us this year, teaching art both at the junior high and at the elementary. And we have another paraprofessional who's going to start that program next year. So growing our own, supporting who we have, and then being willing to reach out and utilize some of the resources that have been provided to us through Colorado Learning.
That's awesome. It's so interesting to think about your community and then having 3 international teachers who are working with you. Just what an interesting experience for them, and what a great experience for your students to have that opportunity.
The elementary music and the African culture that she's been able to share with our students at Parkview has just been absolutely amazing. So
yeah, that's so neat. And then I understand that you're doing some work around housing.
So housing is always a problem. So we've, you know, a few years ago, we purchased a 4-plex that are 2-bedroom units, and we utilize that for first-year teachers to come in to have a landing place. It's very reasonably priced, and that gives them a year to kind of figure out where they want to be for housing, and also take some financial pressure off of them.
Yeah, what a great benefit in the package that you can offer to a first-year teacher to, you know, take that worry off. I know in so many of our school districts, housing becomes a real barrier to recruiting teachers to different communities. So I think that's really exciting that you're doing that. Well, I would love to see if there's anything else that you want to add that you haven't shared already around your work, either, you know, getting kids to come to school every day, keeping your teachers engaged, anything that you're particularly proud of that you've done.
I think
I'm pretty excited about our staff and the work that they've done in engaging students. You know, and I think we have our weekly meetings of the admin team, and we meet with staff, but we're not stagnant, because what's working right now may not work next year.
Right.
And so always reevaluating and looking at better ways. The cohort was beneficial because both our principals were down there, and said you could find out what was working, but you also found out what didn't work.
Yeah.
And that was very helpful for us. So it's always, you know, being proactive, being willing to change, not be stuck in the way you're doing things.
That's great. Well, I really want to thank you for taking the time to talk with us today. It's so important to hear about these innovative strategies that are going on, the hands-on learning, the positive attendance notes, all of the outreach that you're doing with your community, the teacher recruitment. I bet those music classes kids never want to miss a music class with the way you've described it, because it just sounds like such an engaging way for kids to learn. And so I want to thank you for taking the time to talk with us and really commend you for the work that you're doing in making sure that kids come to school every day. Every school day matters, we know, and we really want to help showcase and support our districts all across the state of Colorado with making sure that kids are in school every day.
Thank you.
No, thank you. Appreciate it.